Hi there and welcome back to another episode of Budget Tech Show, brought to you by Budget Gamers for Budget Gamers. As you can see, I've got a computer on my right hand side. You might recognize this from a previous video called Warzone Microstutter. In that video, I managed to solve this computer's problems when it came to microstutter. Yes, I had to dab down on the graphics, replace a cooler, but it was still fun doing it, and it ran smooth ever since. However, until last week, where my brother-in-law said this computer doesn't want to power on. So I told him, well, it can be one of three things. One is a faulty power supply. Number two is a faulty motherboard or a dead CPU, or even three, corrupt BIOS. Now, I'll be exploring all three of these options and see if we can get this computer back alive and fully up and running. So let's open up the case, explore all these options, replacing the RAM even, just starting from scratch, basics, always back to basics. Have you tried turning it on and off again? All of that. And, let's see if I can restore this computer back to life without costing him any extra cash. So let's do this. First, need to switch on to see actually what it does and if it actually will power on. I can see a motherboard light, so that already indicates to me that the power supply might be operational, but it might be faulty, but let's see what happens. Okay, so we got a blue light, switched off. Okay, there it goes again. Can you guys see? Goes off again. Let me just leave it on for a while and see what happens. No, this is still not working. Okay, switch off. Okay, it's off now. Alright, let's reset the BIOS. Maybe even reset the CPU and see what happens. So for those of you who are new to the show, welcome. So before I dig into repairing this computer, or at least trying to with minimum expenses, because this is a budget tech channel and I'm trying to obviously keep budget in mind. This has got an 800 watt power supply, so it's quite a beefy power supply, but that doesn't mean it's faulty. That is not faulty. Then we've got a GTX 1060, which is a quite low powered card, but still it's up to this day a gamer's choice graphics card, even though this graphics card, I think it's making its 5th year now. I remember I bought mine back in 2016 when it just came out. I think that was Q4 of the year. It was a brand new card, GTX 1060, and I just love that card. I mean, even up today, a 1060 can run any game at 1080p quite smooth. So this is really, really a good graphics card, in my opinion. So if you have a 1070, 1080, obviously those cards are boss. 1080 Ti is still a boss card until today. 2080s, I mean, that's self-explanatory. You don't even have to think twice about it. RX 590 even, the RX 590 is a bit better than this. So if you have an RX 590 in your computer, do keep a hold on it. It's an amazing piece of hardware. Then we've got 12 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM. We've got a 3770K. So other than that, it's got a gigabyte motherboard. It's got about 6 fans in, so there's definitely enough airflow. And it obviously has an SSD. So let's try and reset this BIOS and actually see what happens. And maybe removing the graphics card just to see if it's actually a power draw problem. And explore the options. GTX 1060 gigabyte. Love this card. It's an amazing piece of hardware, especially if you're a budget gamer. Resetting of the BIOS. Pulling out any unnecessary strain on the motherboard. Maybe a couple of fans. What's the CPU fan? No, that's not the CPU fan. Pulling that out either way. Just leaving in the CPU fan. I must say this is a quite nice build, if I can show you guys. I mean, any budget gamer out there would agree. Like, if you can pick up this box for a good deal, I mean, this just looks nice. Everything is neat, everything is in place. It's got good specs. I think that was about 30 seconds. Where's this button? Where is the button? Come on. Where's my button? Ah, there we go. There's the button. Spamming it for about 30 seconds just to make sure all the power is off the motherboard. Everything is dead. Removing all the RAM, just in case, as a precaution. Then for DDR3s, I know DDR3 is old, and with DDR5 coming, I mean, this would be probably like DDR1 compared to DDR3. But then again, DDR3 is still fast. This is 1866 megahertz RAM. So this is the top of the range dominators you used to get back then. I mean, they still look freaking amazing. They're not RGB, but I mean, Look at that. I love the Dominator series. This was probably the best series of DDR3 that you could buy, in my opinion. Look, style, feel, it's just amazing. So all of that is out, everything. Pressing the reset button on the motherboard. This is just standard checks that a person would start at to get a computer up and running. If this starts up the computer, I would be eccentric, if that's the correct word. Very, very happy. Because then that means no money spent and you have your computer back up and running. How long though? Can't say. Okay, got my power on. Let's switch on this bad boy and see what happens. Okay, that might have just been a post. Hopefully. Screen is connected. Does my screen even have power? I do not know. We'll find out soon. Okay, hopefully that was just a post. Wow, that is very interesting. As soon as I insert the RAM, it does the old thing. So without the RAM it powers, but maybe there's a dead slot on this motherboard, which is also fine. I mean, we can even get 8 gigabytes of DDR3 Dominators. They'll probably cost an arm and a leg. Very interesting. This is very interesting. So I've tried a second slot now. I'm still getting the same problem. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
Many hours later.
Okay, perfect. Let's say the first one. Let's go with function A. Okay, I'm going to try and do a bench quickly on this PC just to see how it reacts. CPU ID. Now this is probably not like Cinebench or anything else, but this gives me a good idea of what it can do. So this obviously pushes the CPU to its maximum capacity. So yeah, like I mentioned, CPU-Z is probably not the best tool, but it runs your CPU at 100%, which is what I'm looking for here, just to test the temps, and then I'll be resetting the BIOS back to default, and then I can confidently say, hopefully, touch wood, this computer has been fixed. So 8 threads, multi-core, and let's stress the CPU. This is not too bad considering this is an 8-year-old CPU. I think this processor released in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. 3770K release date. Let's see. 2012. It's a 9-year-old CPU and it can still play games. A lot of games. Okay, let's go ahead and downgrade these BIOS. Okay. Holding thumbs that this is going to work. Okay, an operating system wasn't found. Alright, that's not a problem. That's pretty easy to solve. Was this a newer BIOS? This actually looks pretty cool. What? This is actually pretty amazing. Advanced. Let's see. BIOS version F14. As you guys can see, that was successfully upgraded. Or downgraded. BIOS feature. SATA option 1. No. Hard drive priorities. this should be, what is this? This should be that one. ST300? Is it that one? Can't remember. What is that? Samsung ST300. No, it must be the Samsung. Same thing. Exit. Yeah, other than the CPU is obviously running a bit hot. I mean, the only thing that can probably solve this is a very, very good AIO or actually declocking, but I'm not going to do that as it's not in the danger zone. As you could see from the previous bench, it ran up to 70 degrees Celsius, which is still in the safe area. So yeah, this computer is actually running pretty smooth. So the main thing that helped me find the problem of the BIOS corruption is, one, obviously the indicator lights that kept flashing between A and B, but I only saw that after I reseated the CPU. So it's like the motherboard wanted the CPU maybe to be reseated before it would actually reset the BIOS in full. But judging from now, the computer's on, it's stable, it's working, and it cost zero money. This is why I'm here. This is a budget tech channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you soon.